Hi there, I'm Letitia Pfinder and welcome to my channel for another episode of Follow Along Friday. And today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this really cool weaved card. And basically we're just weaving the paper, and I actually got this idea from Shannon Green during her hop video, the Inspiration Conspiracy hop that we did, and I'll link that video down in the description box below. She was just using strips of paper, and I really wanted to try the technique, and while I was about to do the technique, I was thinking, hey, what if I weave these together? And I really liked what it did, so that's what I'm showing you guys how to do today. So to make it easy, I've taken two different, very distinctive, different pieces of paper, and I've cut them into equal strips. So they're all about 1/2 inch in width, and they're long enough to fit. They're bigger than the card you're going to make. So I was using an A2 size card, so they're just longer than that. And so I've just decided what way I've wanted them to go, and to start weaving them, I've taken just some plain tape, just the clear tape, and I've put it sticky side up on my table, and then I'm taking two little pieces of tape and I'm taping that down. So what I'm doing here is doing that so that I can stick those pieces of papers down so that they're not, moving all over the place, because you need to keep them straight and in place. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and speed up this part of the video because it's not super fun to watch, because I really tried to take my time with this and get them lined up just right. Otherwise, your weaved lines get skewed, and then the checkerboard look isn't there anymore and they're not straight. And actually with these pieces of paper, because it was such a pretty pattern, I tried to keep it kind of the way it was on the paper, so I tried to keep it in the order that I'd cut it out. And in the last few I messed it up a little bit, but I did pretty well with it, and I was happy with that. I thought that just added a little something extra to the card. And I chose these patterns, but you could do some really cool stuff with this. This would look, I think, amazing in like a monochromatic theme, so using maybe two shades of paper that are slightly different from each other, like maybe one shade off. I think that would look really cool. You can also, play with different patterns like I did here, or just use some solid colors or a pattern in a solid color. There's just so many different things you can do, and I think I'm actually going to play with this just a little bit more and make more of them, because it was just so much fun to do, and the end result is just beyond what I thought it would be. It was really, really cool to hold, and there's a little bit of texture to it once you're done, and it's just really neat. Alright, so I decided that I wanted to put the rose paper on top, so I just kind of flipped it all up and put the pattern paper down. Just I felt like it would be easier to work that way, and you'll see that in a moment. So when I started here, you'll see I start on the right hand side, and it was kind of a mistake to do that. So you'll see here when I start weaving that I started weaving on the right hand side. Now I'm showing you this here, that's a mistake. Don't do that. You're going to want to start weaving from where your tape is sitting on the left. So if you see what I'm doing here, if you go in and lift that and glue it, you'll have so much trouble trying to weave the rest of it, and it just doesn't make sense. I don't know why I did that. I obviously just wasn't thinking, and realized my mistake before the glue dried, so that was good at least. And I decided to keep this little part in just to show you that isn't exactly a good thing to do. I was going to try to weave top to bottom instead of left to right, and the more I thought about it as I was doing it, I realized that just was going to be the most difficult way to do it. So you can see I'm kind of thinking here. But as you can see, that would have been really, really hard to try to get all the papers in, and and then I go in and I fix my mistake. So to weave them, it's actually really simple. And you can kind of see what I'm trying to do here. But you go in and you figure out what you want to start with. You're either going to start over or under, and then you're just going to keep that pattern going in between all of the strips of paper. Now, the bigger the strips of paper you have, the easier it is to do it, because there's not going to be a lot of them. There's less room to mess up, like when you're gluing them down, because you have to be careful when you're gluing them down as well, because when you're weaving them through, they can get a little skewed, and when you glue them down, if you glue them down skewed, then they're just all skewed after that. Like, they're just not going to be aligned properly. So that's just something you have to be cautious with. So see, I finally figured out my flow here, and and I'm doing it properly now. So it's actually really easy once you don't make that mistake. But I wanted to leave it in just to show you guys how kind of silly that was. And yeah, so you just go in and you do that. I lift up the paper. I think that makes it a little easier. You lift up the ones that are going over, and it just makes that part really, really fast. So then I go in and I glue under all of the over pieces, if that makes any sense. So all of those rose patterned pieces that are going over that strip of paper, I've glued down. So every other one is being glued down. And I will speed this video up in a moment just so you can watch me do the rest of it, because I took my time doing this. I took probably about 15 minutes to do this, just to make sure that it was the way I wanted it to be. I could have done it a little bit faster. It can definitely go faster if you need it to, but it's a fun little thing to do. It's kind of relaxing almost. It reminds me of like when I was younger and going to camp and stuff, like overnight camps, we used to get these I don't know what they were called, but it wasn't string, but it was like I don't know, maybe like a rubber or something like that, or a plastic, sorry. And you would like weave them together, and you could make different kind of knots and stuff like that, and you would make bracelets out of them, or you would get string and do that too. And it was just, this is what it reminded me of when I was doing it, because that was always like a really relaxing thing to sit around and do, like at camp, or just I did that a lot during the summer, even when I wasn't at camp, and even when I was a little bit older. So that's just what it reminds me of. So just a little fun little tidbit for you about my life, I guess. And you can see here, I actually did kind of make a mistake, and I didn't realize when I was doing it. But right at the top where I did that very first line, you can see a gap between the first and second line there. And I should have pushed that up a little bit after I put the glue down. If I had just pushed that paper up a little bit, which you can see I'm doing that on the bottom. I'm gluing it down, and then I'm just sliding the paper up and holding it while it dries. And I should have done that at the top, and I didn't. So my card did turn out just slightly skewed, but it's not all that noticeable. You have to like know what you're looking for to see that. So I was happy that happened. The very first time I tried this card, not this card, but when I tried the technique, trying to figure out maybe how I would go about weaving the paper, I really messed it up by doing that. So that's how I learned my lesson with that. So it can get really, really skewed and be on like huge angles if you're not careful with it. But I also had taped down the paper differently the first time I had done that. I had just taped it to the table normally instead of having the sticky side up, and I think that's kind of what contributed to that problem. Also, my strips of paper were smaller, and the smaller the strips of paper are, the more work it is, and the easier it is for them to have that happen. All right, so all I've done now is I've gone in and I've traced my card onto the back of that paper, or on top of the weaved paper that I've done, and I'm just cutting it out. You could certainly just go in and glue it on and then trim around, but I wanted a really clean cut on it, so I decided to use my paper trimmer. And that's the weaved look. I did end up making a card out of it, so you'll see that. And I made a cute Valentine's card out of it with a couple of cheap Michael stamps I got. To adhere it, I just used the glue I was using to stick it all together. So once that was dried, I went in with my little owl that I stamped, and then I colored it with just some Crayola crayons, nothing special, or Crayola pencil crayons. And then I cut him out, leaving a white border all around him. And I'm just gonna glue him on in the middle. And that I Love You stamp is from the same $1.50 bin at Michael's. And I did the same thing, I just colored in darker around the ribbon edges, and then lightly colored over the I Love You in pink. Just the same pink that I used in the owl, so it was all cohesive. And I just stuck those in the middle. I just thought it was a cute little look. The card itself even looked maybe a little masculine with the gray in there, or in the not harsh, but the bold lines from the pattern. But it was looking really, I don't know, romantic and nice and elegant, and I don't apparently tend to make cards like that. So of course we had to cute it up a bit, and here's my cute little owl. I have a thing for owls in case you didn't know, so here it is. Now I had forgotten to go around and glue the edges that wouldn't have been glued down from when we were gluing the actual strips of paper down, and I'll show you that in a moment. I should have glued them down before I put the owl down, or before I decorated it, because you may decorate it differently. But I'm about to go in and show you just quickly how to do that. So you'll have every other flap around the edge will be needed. That was such a tongue twister for some reason. You'll need to glue them down. So you can see here I'm lifting them up, because I realized I had forgotten to glue them down. I don't know why this video turned out so chatty. I hope you guys don't mind. Yeah, I thought this made a cute Valentine's card. The technique itself isn't specifically for Valentine's Day, but hey, the 2-in-1 video, why not? And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys use this technique, I'd love to see. You can follow me on social media or send me messages there to show me if you do it, because I'd love to see. There are just so many different things you could do with this, and I'll probably end up doing some more with you guys. Maybe I'll do some separate ones and exclusively post them on, we'll say, my Facebook. Yeah, we'll do Facebook. I love to post on Facebook for you guys, so we'll do that there, and I'll post those probably over the next week. And yeah, so if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more from me, you can click that subscribe button down below, and you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. I hope you guys have a terrific Valentine's Day, and until next time, my crafty friends.